Welcome to another Twin Spires video preview, taking a look at the Fourstardave on Saturday afternoon at Saratoga Racecourse. Nick Tammaro here, being joined by Darin Zoccali. Darin, we've got a five-pack going postward in the Fourstardave. No recent winners of this race, and we've seen this be a race in the past where a repeat winner has been able to do well and got stormy. No got stormy this time around.
No got stormy. We do have a mare in the field, though, and certainly a race named for the Saratoga legend Fourstardave, who won 8 consecutive years up at the Spa. One of my all-time favorite horses, being a kid from New York. But yeah, it's a compact field. There's definitely some talent. There's some interesting pace dynamics that I'm sure we'll get into. And there's a magnificent mare in the race who could turn out to be a major threat come Breeders Cup Mile Day in November as well. So it's an interesting race. Maybe not high on quantity, but there's definitely some quality in the field.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's start right there with Regal Glory. That's who you're alluding to, the lone mare in the field. Chad Brown actually ran a female in this field as well. I reminded myself watching the replay of last year's Fourstardave this morning, and it was actually Blowout who ended up beating Regal Glory in the First Lady at Keeneland in her next start. Regal Glory comes in on a 4-race winning streak. They're all graded stakes races, 3 of them grade ones, including the Just a Game back on Belmont Day, where she had the advantage of getting a little help from a horse that theoretically was entered as a rabbit that day in Italian, and Italian came back and won the Diana. Is it that performance that really leads you to ultimately land here?
It's actually a combination of all 4, Nick. And what I mean by that is I am extremely impressed with this mare, who's literally won 4 straight races 4 different ways. She won wire to wire in the Matriarch, albeit allowed to set a slow pace, but that's clearly not the trip that she's at her best. She won a grade 3 at Gulfstream back in the winter, coming from far back with a fast pace set well back of the field. Then she stalked Lone Speed in the Jenny Wiley, pounced and held off the highly touted and highly acclaimed Shantasara in that particular grade 1, then comes back in the Just a Game and allows In Italian to do battle with another pace rival up front, sits about 9.5 lengths off them in a short field, storms home and just opens up at will through the stretch. So it's really the way that she's doing, and the fact that it looks like it doesn't matter what trip you give this mare, she just finds a way to win. And I have to admire that. She catches a short field, and for dollar, pound for pound, she might be the best turf miler in the country right now.
Yeah, I think so. We're recording this before we have the benefit of the morning line. I would imagine she's going to be the morning line favorite. I don't see Mason going off a shorter price than her. I would imagine probably somewhere around 7 or 8 to 5 on Regal Glory, a slight favorite over her stablemate Mason. I have no argument with anything that you said, and I do find it impressive that she's been able to adapt to virtually every kind of scenario. You know, this was a filly that more or less was in the shadows of some of her stablemates throughout 2020, even though she did, 2019, going all the way back then. She did win the Lake George and dead heated in the Lake Placid, but came back and ran behind her stablemate Cambier Park in the QE2, and then she was behind Newspaper of Record a couple of times in 2020. When given her opportunity to shine, she's really run extremely well, and Regal Glory was purchased out of the dispersal from the late Paul Pompa by Peter Brandt, and obviously he's gotten his money's worth, no doubt about it. Her stablemate Mason looks like one of the major players in the field as well. I thought Mason ran exceptionally well in the Maker's Mark Mile, missing by a nose, came back and ran what I thought was a pretty impressive race in the Seek again. I don't know about you. I was very underwhelmed by his effort in the poker, and it makes me a little concerned, not only that he really never extended away from that field, he never looked all that comfortable, and the balance of that field has come back and just performed horribly since then.
Yeah, and even if you didn't look at how these horses have run, which, as you said, have not come back to run well at all, the likes of Penalty, Sanctuary City, Public Sector, and Wolfie's Dynaghost is not exactly a who's who of who you want to be beating coming into a grade 1 grapple. And even the grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile, in which she ran second, that was not a fantastic edition of that race. I'm still not sold that Show Spite is really a true grade 1 quality, especially when it comes to being a turf miler. So I think he's been in the benefit of being in some really favorable spots, including even in a grade 1. And I just flat out think Regal Glory at this point is a better horse.
Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of horses who recently have earned grade 1 glory, Casa Creed comes back for another try at the Fourstardave. This will be the 3rd straight year he's competed in this race. He was 3rd 2 years ago. Last year, he was 3rd once again. Can he somehow better that this time around?
I think the way that this pace dynamic and the way this race shape turns up, he's really up against it. At 6 furlongs, he has an electric turn of foot. That 6 furlong trip at Belmont fits him like a glove, probably fits him better than just about any trip fits any horse in the country. He does not have that same turn of foot going a mile. He's good at a mile, but it's not the same. And now running into a horse like Regal Glory, who's going to likely get first run on him, I have a hard time envisioning a scenario going a mile where he's going to be able to reel in Regal Glory when that mare is full stride and be able to win. Maybe he can rally into the trifecta for a piece. I do think a win, given the way that this race shapes up, is out of reach.
I really hope they can keep this horse sound and healthy and in good form for next year, because he is made for the downhill turf course
Yes.
at Santa Anita, where he would really fit like a glove. 6 furlongs at Belmont would be his best trip. Hopefully one of these days we're back at Big Sandy for a Breeders' Cup. One door to his outside is Front Run the Fed. This is a horse who was 12-1 in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint a couple of years ago. He is a stakes winner going a mile. Looks a little bit, looks to fail the class test here.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. When they get him into the right spot, he shines like they did last time out at Colonial in the Van Cleef Stakes. Took advantage of a field that just wasn't necessarily up to this type of level. The horse that ran second there, Grateful Bread, did come out of that race to run a good second in a listed stake, sprinting 5.5 in the Ben's Cat. But there we go. We're talking about a horse who he beat coming back to run 5.5 in a listed stake and run second. Now he's got to run into Casa Creed, Regal Glory, and Mason. Nice horse. I just think this is too much for him.
I agree. We're going to finish looking at this 5-pack with my pick, Get Smoking, who I set up perfectly by going through the rest of the field. I thought Get Smoking ran extremely well in the Forbidden Apple last time out. Reason why I feel that way is this is a horse who's really done his best work when he's on the front end. Javier Castellano rated him that day. He reached the front and upper stretch and grudgingly gave way. You look at the chart of that race, and the horses that were first and second early. Now, granted, they were 20-1 and 80-1 respectively. They finished last and next to last. That is a pace that otherwise completely collapsed. This is now a situation where this horse has one way to go. They're going straight to the front. And if he gets the lead, especially down on the inside on the inner turf course at Belmont, which we've seen Fourstardave week in the past, and yesterday on Wednesday's program, it looked a little bit like it again. It's definitely been advantageous to be on the inside. I think Get Smoking can find his way to a trip where he's dictating terms to everybody else. I think he's very, very dangerous in that scenario. It might not be the chestnut progeny of Get Stormy that's won for Marquesi in the past, but a different one this time around with Get Smoking.
Yeah, I agree with everything about that. I almost picked the horse for all of the reasons that you said. If anybody but Regal Glory was the main rival in here, I probably would have. The problem that I have is that Regal Glory, I don't think is going to let Get Smoking get too far away. She can allow herself to move herself forward and sit second off him like she did last time out in her most recent victory. And if Get Smoking goes out there and puts up quick fractions, she could take back and reel them in. The other thing I had a hard time with is that the horse was 21-1 in the grade 3 Forbidden Apple, and now comes into that. You're not getting 21-1 in this 5-horse field, because I do think some handicappers are going to see the race as you said. That being said, it is a stone exacta for me, 3-5. I think Regal Glory sits second. I think pounces on this horse late, and I think he's good enough to hold second the way the race shapes up. So for me, it's 3-5. But if anything were to happen where Regal Glory, for some reason or another, got in any kind of a trouble, the horse is a wire-to-wire threat.
I completely agree with that. Is a look at the 4-Stardave, all 5 of them going poster in this grade 1 event on Saturday afternoon. Darin, thanks so much. We'll have to talk again soon.
I'm sure we will on the road to the Breeders' Cup, Nick.
For Darin Zoccali, this is a look at the 4-Stardave. Nick Tammaro here. Be sure you're playing along with us at twinspires.com. Big Saturday of action with the million at Churchill Downs as well. Until next time, best of luck.